Hey guys, it's John McNamara, host, Ron in Vegas. We're talking local sports, business, real estate. If you guys like what you see today, please subscribe, follow us. I'm Ron in Vegas podcast. All right, today I got an exciting show. It's all sports. We're talking UNLV. Pastner had, over the last month, he had did a great job with recruiting. We've had a lot of additions through the transfer portal. We had a pod about a month ago talking about the departures that left UNLV. So today we're going to dive into who's coming in, a little deep dive in that, and then we're going to be talking Las Vegas Raiders. They just had their rookie draft. I'm going to go over those rookies, my thoughts on the draft, and then UNLV football had their spring practice for the last month, had their spring game, which was really just kind of like a practice. And we had some folks, some players leave. He had some additions that came in. So we're going to talk about also their recruiting class for 2026. So a lot of information to go over today. The big thing, though, in the last month, though, is UNLV basketball. How is Pastner going to respond with the departures? A new coach, he's working on NIL, and did they improve the roster? Because we talked about, about a month ago, Deion Thomas leaving, some other players leaving. How's this going to look, right? And Pastner's mindset and his coaching philosophy is defense and getting more athletic players. So we're going to do a deep dive of each player that came in. So starting off, Emmanuel Stevens, 4-star from Arizona. 7-foot center, 230 pounds, was a former top 100 recruit, was the first get for Pastner. So off to a hot start with that. And then added Dragibbs Lawhorn, another former 4-star top 150 player from Illinois, is a combo guard. He's very athletic, so another good add. Then added Al Green, a 6'3" shooting guard. He's from Louisiana Tech. He shoots 42% from outside. The other addition was Laji Dembele Jr. He's a 6'8", 255-pound power forward from Iowa, who also, he shot actually 38% from outside. So just kind of to dive into just the beginning of this is he's getting shooters that can shoot outside and some athletic guys. The other, then there was another wave of ads that were made. Nas Cunningham, he is a former 4-star as well. He was actually ranked as the #1 recruit at one time a couple years back from Alabama, 6'7". I think he's only about 175 pounds. He's a great shooter, super athletic, was a really big get for Pastner. Probably, in terms of young talent, was the biggest recruit added. He jumps out of the gym. He reminds me a lot of Derek Jones with a shot, at least in college. Derek Jones is a great NBA player now. So another big get. And then you're going to be hearing this name a lot this year. A big ad from High Point, former 4-star from Mississippi State. Last 2 years he played at High Point. And High Point went to the tourney. Is Kamani Hamilton. He's a 6'7", 215-pound wing. He averaged 13 points a game. He was a big part of their offense and defense at High Point, a leader for that team. And most likely, he's probably going to be our leading scorer next year. He was a big add for Pastner. And honestly, after the first and second wave of signings, I thought, man, this is our team. It looks good. I like what Pastner's doing. Solid offseason. I give him a thumbs up. And then a third wave came in where they added Miles Che, a 6'3" point guard from Irvine. I believe he had 12 points a game. He shot 42% from outside. Irvine was really good. UC San Diego and Irvine were really good this year. Irvine, I believe, won the regular season and then lost in the championship game against UC San Diego that went to the tournament. So he led the Irvine team, and now he is most likely going to be the starting point guard for UNLV next year. We'll see. Him and Drew Gibbs will be competing for that role. I say Chase probably has the, because of experience and being able to shoot from outside. I would imagine he is most likely going to be the starter. And then, also they added Howling Long, a 6'5" shooting guard from Rio Grande Valley, Texas school. Big shooting guard, 6'5", 250 pounds, shot 42% from outside. So it was interesting because Pastner in the past has, he's all about defense. He's never really been big about outside shooting. And I was curious because he's been out of coaching for, 2 or 3 years now. He said he's learned a lot from the game. And the two biggest things is he definitely added a more athletic team with more to help what he wants on defense. But he got 4 players that can shoot from outside, 3 over 40% and then 1 over 37%. So the team is shaping up pretty well. I'm excited about it. It looks like we're going to be 9 players deep this year. We'll see. This is on paper. Usually if you can get 7 to 8 really good players. But I will say this. Did the roster improve? Absolutely. I've been watching Rebels basketball for 17 years, and this is the most exciting offseason I can remember since the Dave Rice era. So the difference, though, is Dave brought in a lot of freshmen and not a ton of transfers, where I think Pastner has done a really good job of bringing in both. On top of that, he was able to flip Isaac Williamson, a 6-foot point guard, from New Mexico. He's going to be a freshman. I'm not sure how much playing time he's going to have this year, but it was a good flip for us. And on top of that, Tyron Jones is 6'8", top 100 player. He originally committed to UNLV Rebels in the fall. He has decided to stay. So I believe he's going to be one of those 9 in the rotation. So I'm excited for UNLV basketball. We got a lot to look forward to, and we're going to be talking more about the roster and the team going this year. I'm excited to talk more about it as the season, we get closer to the season. We'll have some guests on here and talk some UNLV basketball. If you're out there and you like UNLV basketball and you want to talk on the pod, UNLV, direct message me, hit me up on YouTube. We'll get you scheduled, and we'll be talking that more as here in the future. So let's dive into some Las Vegas Raiders. So how'd the draft go? I liked it. I talked about the Raiders about a month ago. For their first pick, they had the 106, meaning for their first round pick at the 6th spot. They ended up going Ashton Jeanty, which we've talked a lot on this pod, and it was a pretty obvious pick. It's not a surprise, so I didn't make some crazy prediction that occurred. It's kind of unusual to see a running back go that early, but with Pete Carroll coming in this offseason, he likes to run the ball, play great defense, and Ashton Jeanty really fit that mold. We've talked about Ashton Jeanty a lot because he ran all over UNLV. So we've been seeing him for the last years playing Las Vegas, so now it's great that he is going to be a Raider. He's, I believe, 5'9", 211 pounds. He's a great running back. He's a perfect fit for the Raiders. We have a bell cow right off the bat. The second pick in the second round, the 26th pick was Jack Betch from TCU. He's 6'1", 214 pounds. He's a big power slot receiver. I like this pick as well. Big Jack Betch fan. He looked really good at the Senior Bowl. He basically catches everything. He doesn't run a good vertical route, but he can basically do everything else. Has great hands. He's great off of the press. And I thought it was a perfect fit because Chip Kelly typically likes to have a power slot wide receiver. And this guy slots into that role probably day one. There's a lot of talk, maybe Bowers, the tight end's going to do that. But after the Betch selection, I do believe he's going to be playing that role. And with Meyer, the other the other wide receiver, he's only got 1 year left on his contract, so they really need to fill that need. Then they went defense, cornerback. With a third round, fourth pick, it's Darian Porter. He's 6'3", 195-pound corner. He runs in the 4.3s. So this really solidified the Raiders secondary. We talked about the Raiders offseason about a month ago, and they brought in some really big safeties, 6'3", 6'4". They also brought in another cornerback that's about 6 foot. Very Pete Carroll. He likes big, fast defensive backs. So he shored up the running and passing game, and then also his defensive backfield. So I love this. And then Spytek is the general manager of the Raiders now. He loves offensive linemen. And they actually went back-to-back offensive linemen with the third round 34th pick and the third round 35th pick. Caleb Rogers, 6'5", 312 pounds from Texas Tech. And then Charles Grant, 6'5", 311 pounds from William and Mary. So I thought this was a really good move because Colton Miller, I think he only has 1 more year left on his contract, or they are working through contract situation right now. So it gives them insurance if there's any holdout. Also, they can play for the future. I'm assuming these tackles are too probably versatile. The interior line looks really healthy right now, but I love that he brought in some more depth at the position. I don't believe Spytek was a huge fan of our current right tackle, so one of these guys probably has an opportunity to start as a rookie. We'll see, but it's always good to bring in a lineman, especially if the Raiders want to run on a high level. They paid Geno Smith that extension, protect him. So I really like these picks as well. And then I'm not going to dive deep into the other picks, but they did add, and this was the pick I probably was not a huge fan of, and it just felt like such a Raiders pick. I don't think it was a bad pick. I just thought there was better players than for it, especially at the wide receiver. One thing I've talked about on this pod before is they really needed a guy to stretch the field, run the 9 route to open up the offense, especially if you're going to be running the ball a lot. So they did add a receiver, so I'm glad that they did address that need. But he's more of a project. It's Dante Thornton Jr., 6'5", 200 pounds, Tennessee. And he runs in the 4.3s. Crazy athlete. Not a great football player, at least right now. So hopefully they can develop him, get him on the field, help open up the offense. That should really help. And, so overall, I give the Raiders a good grade for the rookie draft. They really they addressed the running game, solidified the defensive backfield, brought in some depth to the offense, got a vertical threat. So it was a good day for the Raiders, and their schedule just got released as well. So we'll dive into that in another pod. All right. Number next. All right, we're talking UNLV football. So recently we had spring practice in the spring game, which is more like a practice. They didn't have like a traditional spring game to go to this year. I didn't attend it this year, but there was a big departure that occurred. There was multiple players that left, and I'm not going to go into detail on those. But the big one that left was Charles Carrera. He's a linebacker. He actually played at Gorman. He actually left for Purdue, where Barry Odom is. So he was projected. He plays a true freshman. He looked really good last year. I was excited about him. He was projected to be in our starting lineup. He did leave. That was really the only big departure from the spring, which is very typical. Guys come in, They're practicing with each other all the time. They're seeing if they can get playing time or not. So most times, I don't really mind when departures leave, to be completely honest with you. I know the UNLV community always freaks out in basketball even when people leave, but a lot of times people leave because they're not going to play or they don't see a lot of opportunity. That's what happens 80-90% of the time. Carrera is probably one of those guys that would have had a ton of playing time. And I will say this, though. UNLV football linebacking crew is deep. So it was one of those positions I'm like, if we're going to lose a guy there, that's where it's at. And when we talked about in the pod about a month ago, my biggest concern, I think they and I'm not going to dive in, if you guys want to see those additions, I'm not going to dive into all those players again. But my biggest concern was the defensive line. They really, it kind of looked thin to me. And I think they did a solid job. And they actually added a bunch of additions to the line and the edge after spring. They clearly, after spring, realized it was not a position of strength for them. So we'll dive into those. They added former four-star to Mrs. Adeli. He is a defensive tackle. He's from Texas State. He's 6'4", 295 pounds. So another defensive tackle, which is good. And they also added 2 linebackers to help with Carrera leaving. It was a 3-star. Isaiah Patterson. He's a freshman linebacker, high 3-star kid. He's coming from UCLA. He's a big linebacker, 6'4", 235 pounds. He didn't really play there last year that much, but he's a really good young addition to the linebacker core. And then a guy that made a lot of waves, and we'll see, he hasn't had a lot of success in college football, is Justin Flo. He's a former 5-star recruit from Oregon, and he went to Arizona. He played a little bit at Arizona the last 2 years. I think he had like 80 tackles the last 2 years. But he was originally the number 1 linebacker recruit. He's a senior, so he has the potential to step in this year and maybe fill that void for Carrera or add depth. So they did a great job of adding linebackers, which is good. And then some really, I'm really excited about the edge players they had, because edge, I think, is huge. You want to have 4, 5, maybe 6 edge players that can come in, because you get tired out there. You don't want to have your edge players out there 100% of the time. You want those guys on rotation and defensive tackles, so they're fresh and they can push the pile. So they added Donovan Spellman. He's an edge rusher, 6'4", 230 pounds from Charlotte. And then the big one, another big, is a 4-star, Elias Rudolph, edge, 6'5", 210 pounds from Miami in Florida. And that is a really big young recruit. So they added some really young talent and then guys that can step in now. And a big win for the offseason for UNLV football. It feels like they really solidified that line, which seemed like maybe they're going to be their weakest point, and still may be, but at least they added some players and some depth there to help with rotation. So super happy to see that. On top of that, the recruiting class for 2026, right now UNLV is ranked 53 by 247 Sports. And they've added, I'm not going to go through all the recruits, but they had a big flip. Quarterback Derek Garcia is 6'3", 190 pounds. He was originally committed to San Diego State. So another big commit for UNLV. I'll say this. I believe they're bringing in 60 new guys this offseason, so 2/3 of this roster is going to look different. I renewed my UNLV football tickets. This, on paper, looks like the best UNLV football roster I've ever seen. On paper. Now we have to see how Mullen can translate that. He's been out of coaching for a couple of years. I think he's a great coach. But there might be a little time to adjust to that. Does that take a week? Does that take a year? Does that take a couple months? We don't know. But going into the season, very exciting. It's going to be a good UNLV football season. So those are the updates for local sports. Also, if you guys know me, I'm a big Whole Foods guy. So heads up, Whole Foods has left on Charleston, is now right next to, it's in downtown Summerlin. I got to check it out today. Looks pretty cool. It's bigger, more light. Definitely improved their facilities. Got some outdoor seating, which is really nice. So go check that out. That actually just happened today, which is a Thursday. They opened up, and there was a ton of people there. And I posted on my Instagram. I did a little myself and my team, George. We did a reel so you guys kind of get an inside look at it. If you don't have time to make it down there, and you want to avoid the chaos maybe this weekend, but I would definitely check out Whole Foods. We're excited for that opening up. And that's it, guys. You guys have a great day. It's John McNamara, Run Vegas. Take care of yourselves.